It is a pleasure to participate in the digital launching of the Latin American Journal of Central Banking, published by CEMLA. I would like to thank Manuel Ramos Francia, CEMLA's director, and the magazine team for inviting me to this presentation. Banco de Mexico's primary constitutional mandate is to attain price stability. It also has other objectives: to promote the healthy development of the financial system and the proper functioning of payment systems. Attaining these objectives is essential for the population. Each of Banco de Mexico's responsibilities require data collection using the appropriate economic framework, defining a regulatory framework, executing an efficient communication strategy, as well as analyzing the incentives of different economic agents and an understanding of global and domestic economic and financial context. Thus, the importance of economic research for the central bank becomes self-evident. Apart from the complexity of these issues, it is important to realize that in policymaking, institutions like ours are subject to constant change. While the essential principles of central banking and its objectives remain the same, the external environment and the challenges we face are constantly evolving, thus requiring a continuous updating of conceptual models and empirical tools. Also, there are high-impact economic events that we have faced and we are currently facing. To name just a few: the 2008 global financial crisis and the current pandemic of COVID-19, which entail critical challenges that require adjustments in our strategies and approaches. This relies heavily on economic research. There are also long-term technological, demographic, political, and climate change trends that are gradually modifying the structure of economies and societies. For instance, climate change has become a global challenge and a clear source of risk for the financial sector worldwide. It is crucial for central banks that the financial sector properly assess these risks. In this regard, through the Network for Greening the Financial System, of which Banco de Mexico is a founding member, a green global agenda is being promoted. Such agenda allows the financial sector to mitigate risks, take advantage of the opportunities of sustainable investments, and contribute to a more balanced development. The challenges we face requires continually developing new strategies and knowledge, and adapting the existing one to how the global economy and our domestic economy function. An adequate response to a particular challenge requires the right tools and approaches. Thanks to research, our responses can be timely and based on our best understanding of the economy. An overview of the challenges faced by central banks in our region illustrates the relevance of our research agendas. For example, CEMLA was founded in 1952, when most Latin American and Caribbean nations had closed economies and different concepts about the role of monetary policy prevailed. The evolution of the main topics of discussion of central banking and financial regulation in Latin America is evident in CEMLA's own publications. For example, in CEMLA's website we can find articles about the controversy between monetarists and Keynesians from 1977, the implementation of the inflation targeting framework in the 2000s, and the role of new financial technologies from 2017. One of the most important changes in paradigms has been the consensus on the need for central bank independence. Indeed, at the end of the last century, many theoretical and empirical studies found strong evidence about central bank independence being associated with low levels of inflation. These led many countries, including Mexico, to change their central bank's legal statutes, granting them independence. Last year, Banco de Mexico celebrated the 25th anniversary of its constitutional autonomy. Now, let me say a few words on how high-quality economic research contributes to strengthen Banco de Mexico's independence. The usefulness of fiat money, as its name entails, relies on the confidence that people have in its effectiveness as a means of payment, unit of account, and store of value. By having the exclusive authority on the terms and conditions to supply fiduciary primary money, central banks play a key role in the economy, and their tasks must be performed with a high level of responsibility and prudence. Banco de Mexico's greatest asset is the trust and confidence that citizens have that monetary policy will be used to attain price stability. This is based on the credibility and the reputation that the institution has earned over many years. Effective, credible policy making has been supported by high-quality economic research analysis and by a highly qualified and capable staff that over the years has developed a deep understanding of monetary policy key issues. To better serve the public, central banks' decisions need to be solidly based on the best available economic research and on robust empirical evidence. Therefore, central banks must always rely on this knowledge and tools to make the best decisions. The fact that Banco de Mexico's board is composed of 5 independent members responsible for analyzing and deciding on the monetary policy actions based on their best research and on most timely data insulates the central bank from short-term political pressures and increases its public credibility. Evidence over the last decades has shown that independent central banks are essential for the correct functioning of our economies. This requires to be more transparent and more accountable, and this is better attained by providing to the public the information, analysis, and research used to conduct our actions. This is especially the case in Latin America, where our economies are more exposed to politically motivated unconventional approaches which can go against an effective inflation control. Thus, solid research can play a key role to articulate how critical it is to implement more disciplined and long-term policies. These policies allow central banks to better contribute to economic growth by attaining low and stable inflation and allow the financial system to play a key role in supporting productive initiatives. Because of these reasons, the complexity of the task at hand, the continually changing nature of policy making, and, most importantly, because of the relevance of central bank independence, Banco de Mexico considers the production of economic research within its walls and outside of them a key element to best achieve its main statutory objectives and contribute in the best way possible to our population's well-being. The research produced by Banco de Mexico is not only useful for the governing board's decision-making, but for numerous policymakers and economic agents. In this way, high-quality research becomes a public good that benefits society as a whole. As governor of an institution that strongly values and supports economic research, I am very glad to speak to you on the occasion of the launching of the Latin American Journal of Central Banking, sponsored by CEMLA, based here in Mexico City. For nearly 7 decades, CEMLA has led cooperation among central banks and regulatory authorities in Latin America and the Caribbean, and has helped to identify and solve common challenges. Banco de Mexico is proud to support CEMLA and gladly celebrates this initiative. This is not an easy task. In the past, many of the central banking research in our region focused in local issues or on literature-specific questions, which much policy-directed research lacked enough rigor. Now, with the vision and leadership of Manuel Ramos Francia, CEMLA has revamped and upgraded its former magazine and has put together a very solid editorial board, inviting a wide range of renowned academics and policymakers. In this sense, the Latin American Journal of Central Banking can contribute to enhance research in financial and monetary topics, as well as in new matters that will rapidly become crucial to central banks. It is called to be a valuable source of information for banks, regulatory and supervisory institutions in the region. It can also be a useful vehicle to link other specialized academic research with practical decision-making. In short, this magazine can generate a virtuous circle in which its renovated format, its upgraded topic selection, and its greater academic requirements and wide dissemination attract an increasing number of collaborators and readers and make it a privileged forum to debate and continually develop the most significant topics for central banking. To the editorial board and all the magazine team, as well as the referees and authors, my best wishes in this praiseworthy endeavor. Thank you very much. I wish you a lot of success.